Good morning, everyone, and happy Friday. We're back at it, Friday morning live. So thank you guys for tuning in, whoever is jumping on here with me. And if you're watching the replay, I appreciate that too. Let us know in the comments if you are watching the replay another time. Today I'm talking about motivation during cold winter months. And I know that's a very difficult time for a lot of people. I'm just going to jump on here to make sure I'm live in the right place. That's always, we got quite a few groups going on, so it's always of concern. Good morning, Jen. Jen's in here. My mom's in here. Who else is in here? Anyone? This show is actually dedicated to Jen, who brought it up in our fitness family. She's like, always ask, like, what, do you have any suggestions? And Jen was like, yeah, let's talk about motivation. And I was like, all right, let's talk about motivation. Okay, I'm good there. So, yeah, today, we got Stephanie's in here too. Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. It is a happy Friday. I know some schools are on their, not sure exactly what it's called, what do you call it? Like a conference break? What is that, Stephanie? And I love the cat. Thank you. It's brand new. Very excited about it. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about motivation today, and there's a lot of coldness going on. Everyone's stuck at home in Canada, or in and around Alberta at least. It's minus 50. Is that like record breaking? That's crazy. I tell people that in California, and they just like look at you funny. What do you mean? Yes, teachers' convention, Stephanie says. So I think it's a good time to talk about motivation, especially because, as we know, in Alberta, or let us know where you're watching from. There might be some people from other areas of the country or North America. We don't get too many people from overseas. Morning, Linda. But yeah, like it's a tough time. You're stuck inside, especially when it's freezing. People aren't really sure what to do. So let's talk about motivation. I'm interested to know what you guys have to say, how you stay motivated, and we can offer some tips as well to help you learn more about how to stay motivated. I want to do a quick, um, quick mention, I should say. This is the book I'm reading right now. I've read half of it before. I really think books find you. And I actually went to drop off some books at they have those little houses. I'm not sure what they're called. And in the little houses, you can grab a book or take a book. You know how that goes. Good morning, everyone, and happy Friday. Why is that so? So I went to leave some books, and I found this book, and I was like, well, maybe I didn't read half. I read quite a bit, but I thought I did. Maybe I read like a quarter of it, a half of it, and it's a really cool book. So I saw the book sitting there, and I was like, oh, I picked that up before, and then I was like, I listen to a lot of audiobooks here. I walk quite a bit, so I listen to more audiobooks than I read at the moment. But I really like to read. I think there's a difference. I think you can remember a bit better, and you can, I don't know, it feels like a different energy when you're reading instead of listening. So I've been wanting to get into some more reading, and I saw the book there, and I was like, maybe it's a good time to pick that book up. Stephanie says, of the book, or Stephanie says, it's true. It's true. Books do find you. What's the title? So this one is called The Book of Joy, and it's with His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Tutu, Desmond Tutu. So the book was just sitting there, and I was like, maybe I'll pick it up. And then I think we all know like what it's like. Like sometimes we read, sometimes we don't. I think some people really struggle with reading in general, like just sitting down and making that happen. I'm not exactly sure why, but I think it's just the time. Is there anyone out there that could share that with us? Like, what is it about reading? Oh my gosh, I just made a mess. Does anyone know what it is about reading that makes it so challenging to sit down and make it happen? Jason says, "Great hat." Thank you. I'm pretty excited about my hat. I've been wanting a hat for a while, but it's hard to find places that do hats. Even if you can find an embroidery place, a lot of them don't really do hats, or they won't do like one off. You got to do like 50 of them. Amanda says, "Good morning from snowy Nova Scotia." So this is called, so basically, so if you guys aren't really sure who the Dalai Lama is, I can't help you. No, I'm just kidding. If you're not sure who the Dalai Lama is, and then the Archbishop Desmond Tutu. So they're very different religions. Of course, the Dalai Lama, he's from the Buddhist religion, and I don't even know if they call it a religion. I believe they call it a science more than a religion, science of the mind, which I think is really interesting. And then Archbishop Desmond Tutu is from the Catholic Church. So, and it's so interesting. Like, they are completely different worlds, but they don't believe that they're from completely different worlds. And like, there's so many issues around religion and like wars and disputes and friendships, families. Like, I think people are torn apart by religion, maybe even more often than they're brought together. That's probably for a different time and place. But I just think for these guys, it's so interesting because they're perceived to be so different, but they're so similar. And they they laugh and they joke and they talk about how they're supposed to be, how people like expect them to be holy, and they're like, we're just regular people. So there's a precedence, if you will, combined with an expectation, and they're just like they're older, and they're like kids. They just like laugh at each other and joke and like poke fun, and it's super interesting how these two from very different religions, they've come together and they just share their story of what it's like to be in their position and live life and the expectations people have of them. And yeah, so anyways, that's the book I'm reading right now, and it's super interesting. So if you guys get a chance, you can check that out. And Stephanie says books certainly find you. I believe that 100% because I've had books pop up a number of times, and I'm like, well, I'll read that later. I'll check that one out later. And for whatever reason, they come back to you until you actually pick them up. So we are talking about motivation today, but feel free to ask questions. I saw Jen has a question that came in here. But we got Matt Aubrey jumped in here. What's up, Matt? And Greta's in here too. Thanks for joining, you guys. However long you could stay, you're welcome to come in and out, however it suits your day. I read it, but I never picked. Let's see what Jen says. Well, maybe that wasn't a question, but more of a comment. Morning, Crystal. Jen says, good question. I like to read, but I never seem to pick up books unless I'm traveling. Yeah, that's interesting. I think you have to have that dedicated time to sit down and read. For me, usually if I don't read in the morning, I'm probably not going to read later in the day. So I'll read first thing in the morning or later in the evening. And especially, I'm trying to reduce some screen time. So I work from the computer most of the day or my phone, and then you sit down and you want to you want to relax, and you turn the TV on or whatever you're watching. You turn the Netflix on, but that's like all screen time. So I'm trying to reduce some screen time. So I've been doing things to separate myself, especially later in the evenings. Later in the evenings is like 7 for me. So that's one thing that I've been doing is reading a bit more. Okay. So when it comes when it comes to motivation, I think people struggle at different levels. Some people are a bit more self-motivated than others, and some people need that regular motivation, continual, constant motivation. It's so difficult right now because we don't have fitness classes, for example. We don't have book clubs where you get together, whatever it is that you do. In most cases, it's that human interactions, the people that come into your life that support you, and that's that supportive environment that we often talk about. So we have to find other ways to be supported and feel supported, and that has everything to do with who you surround yourself with. So Stephanie said, Cindy and you guys help me stay motivated. So that's the environment we're talking about. So Stephanie's talking about our fitness family, which is an online group we've mentioned many times before. But in the group we do different things, like we just did a raw chocolate night, for example. So Dorothy made some raw chocolate for everyone, or she actually did it live, and some people followed along, and then some people did it afterwards, and then everyone was posting their raw chocolate pictures after. So that was pretty cool. And then, for example, we every Tuesday and Thursday mornings at 6:30 a.m. Mountain Time, I do a live workout for our fitness family. So it's important to continually support yourself and be around people that are doing the things that you want to do. I think it's really challenging when you want to do something or you're trying to do something, but you don't have anyone to support you, or you don't have anyone that's doing what you're doing. So finding that support is so important. And we, unfortunately, right now, we have to go online in most cases to find that, because we're not really seeing that in person like I'm talking about. But there are ways, and I'm going to talk about that today. Dana jumped in here, and then Dorothy jumped in here. Good morning, Dorothy. Dorothy's back at school for the whole week. So you guys know how cold it was there. So Vanda, how cold was it in Nova Scotia? Was it minus 50? So Dorothy was teaching for about 10 years. I think she told me she had 2 school days. So 2 school days, two snow days. For over 10 years, she says 2 snow days they closed the school down. They shut down this almost this whole week except for today, Friday. Can you believe that? That is crazy. Where are you going? So, anyways, they're back at school, and Dorothy says, setting up for Valentine's Day at school. Who's excited? Yeah, who's excited for Valentine's Day? Do you guys like Valentine's Day, or is it one of those holidays or occasions that you could probably do without? I feel like some people are like really romantic and they want to really get into it and be Valentine-y, and other people don't. Dorothy says 12 years, and before this week, only one day it was canceled. Great. Okay, so I got that a bit wrong. 12 years, and only one day was canceled because of the cold. And this whole week, 4 days, except for today, was, man, that is cold. I don't. Is that like record-breaking temperatures? I don't even know. Wait, and then Dana said that. I couldn't agree more. Dana says it's only -9 right now, but we have a whole lot of snow. We saw you. I saw a video of you snowshoeing, so that was pretty cool. Thanks for sharing that on your page. But thanks to the hearts, you guys that are popping in here and dropping all the hearts. Dorothy says I like it. I think she's talking about Valentine's Day, but not into all the commercialization stuff. I just like snuggles. It's true. Dorothy does like snuggles. Some people are snugglers, and some people are not. Let me know in the comments if you guys have a book that you're reading right now. Maybe a motivation book. Jen says we don't usually celebrate it because we're both in the hospitality industry, so always working. I guess this year he booked dinner for us the next day at a winery. Awesome. Nice little Valentine's Day celebration. Jen, thanks for sharing that with us. Okay, so I think it's important when it comes to motivation to what you're focusing on and what you're not focusing on. And that could be any realm of life. Like, for example, when you're in a like negative mindset, and we have all been there and continually be there. I think that's life, and being a human being, you have to continually put in effort to put yourself in a better headspace, which then puts you in a better physical space. But when you are in a negative headspace and you're like having a rough day or having a bad day, you are thinking about all the negative things in your life. And it's kind of crazy how your mind naturally attaches and attracts to more negativity. So if like something negative comes up, I always use this one, but if someone like cuts you off, like that's an easy one to, because it's so selfish and it's so inconsiderate, and that really bothers people. It certainly bothers me. So when something like that happens, it's easy to put your mind into like an instant angry, negative, upset type of state of being, if you will. So now you start to see other things like, oh, this person in front of me, now they're driving. Why are they driving so slow? Or why did that person, like, maybe they didn't cut you off, but they signaled in front of me, and then they turn right up. That drives me nuts. They do it all the time in Olds. It's like a small town thing. It's like someone jets out and cuts in front of you, and then they slow down and turn. Is anyone with me there? Now we got some people in Olds. It's crazy, but so I have to remind myself. I'm like, it was just one incident. Maybe they're in a hurry. I don't know what's going on in their life. But it used to like infuriate me. Like, why did you just cut me off just so you could slow down and turn? But those are the things. So our mind attracts to more of those things. And then now someone took your parking spot, or when you get to work, and then the elevator isn't working, like whatever it is, our mind just keeps going to more negative things, and that's what we're focusing on. So that's certainly not motivating in any aspect. But understand that that is taking you away from the direction you want to go. So I'm going to relate that to more positivity in a second here. It's definitely a country thing. It drives me crazy. Yes, so it's a record-breaking cold snap up there in Alberta. Well, at least in Alberta. I don't know what it's like. Was it cold for you in BC, Jen? Probably not that cold, I'm guessing. Okay, so that's in that. So understand that's what we're focusing on when negative things come up in our life, is the negativity, and then we naturally find more things to be angry about or upset about. So if you look at the flip side of the coin, we could look at more positive things to enrich our life, to find more positive. So when something good happens, this is at least how I feel about it. I mean, let me know if you guys feel differently. So when something positive happens, you naturally find more positive things to happen. Or when something good thing happens, some like one good thing happens, you're like, oh my gosh, so many, like this is a great day. So many good things are happening, and your mind naturally goes to more good things. So you just keep having a better day and a better day, which is fantastic. And then if you're having like a great day, even when something negative comes in, and you're like, oh, I can't believe that person cut me off again. You're like, everything else is going good today. I'm not too worried about that. So those are the two differences of having a negative mindset, which only attracts more negative, and then a positive mindset. And of course, you have a balance of both. Some days are great, some days are okay, and some days are horrible. But when you have the positivity, I feel like more positivity comes in, and it's easier to come in, and the complete opposite for negative. So let me read these comments, but I'll talk about how to match these two together. Jen says it's minus 16 right now. Too cold in Kelowna. And then Dorothy says exactly why I don't watch the news. When do you even hear anything positive on there? Yes, of course, you got to bring up this touchy subject while I'm doing a live. I'm just kidding. It's true though. Like we don't watch the news. And people get like so. I've had people like, I put something in my newsletter one time, and I had someone be like, I unsubscribe to your newsletter because I didn't think that was something positive I wanted to hear from you. And I was like, okay, you don't have to listen to what we have to say. I'm just sharing my opinion. Morning, Tammy. But I don't watch the news. Like Dorothy and I, we don't watch the news. Like I've never felt safer because I wasn't watching the news. I've never really felt more informed, and I've never felt like positive vibes. It's so interesting to me. Like I've been on the news a handful of times, which I'm very grateful for. But you get literally get like I think I get 3 to 5 minutes maybe. And if you watch the news, you'll notice that if they're doing something for like the Humane Society or if they're doing something for charity, they'll get like 5 minutes. But if there's like a tragedy or like a murder case, that gets like 10 minutes, and then they replay it 3 times, and then so that's the morning news. Then the afternoon news, there's no positive. It's only the replay of the negative, and it's like what? And you sit there and watch that day after day, and like every day, multiple times a day, multiple times a week. Like it's crazy to me. Like so you could spend all that time looking at more positive things, or you could keep focusing on that negativity. Morning, Nikki. So those are the two sides I just explained. Is that we have the negative mindset and we have the positive mindset. And I feel like if you want to be a motivated individual, like a motivated person, you have to find those people that have similar, or at least want to have similar mindsets. So I think most of us have been in a situation where you could go to like the the cafeteria or I always get this one wrong. The office, maybe it's not even happening now, but you go to the coffee pot and everyone's like sitting there complaining about something. I remember the staff room. That's what I was looking for. You go to the staff room and it's lunchtime, and even if you're not doing this now because of everything going on, we know what it was like in the past. So you go and you sit in this negative atmosphere, and we do it all the time online. Like if you put one thing up about something negative, you put something about masks, you put something about COVID, there's like an attraction of like negativity. People just can't wait to spew their whatever they got going on inside that has to be all thrown on those posts. I put up a post, actually just put up a post about Randor. I don't know too much about it. I just recently heard about it, but it's supposed to be some kind of gas that comes up from the house and you can test for it. So I put up a post, and then like people, they can't help themselves. Like some people just had to, and it was just a question like, does anyone know where you can get a test kit? And like people just can't help themselves to be like, I don't agree with that. That's BS because this and this. And I'm like, I I didn't like I wasn't asking for a debate, or I wasn't asking for your opinion. I was asking if you know where a kid is. But people just naturally they have that negative mindset and that negative mind space, and it doesn't matter where they go because everything they see is negative. That's what comes out of them. So like individuals like that need to be around more positive people, and they need to find positivity. But in most cases they don't know that. They don't know they're negative. They don't know that they're hanging out with negative people. But when I'm saying negative, I'm trying to compare the opposites um, of the positive and the motivation. So positive equals motivated. Negative, in many cases, is unmotivated. And don't get me wrong. I'm not saying because you're not motivated, you're negative. I'm just saying it's a different space. Just think about people like for us, for example. I talked about our fitness family group, for example. So we have a good group of people that come in every Tuesday, Thursday, and they're like it's early in the morning. Most people are excited to be there, I think, and happy, and there's good energy, and I can feel their energy like coming through the screen, and there's conversations, and so that's one space of motivation, excitement, feeling good. And then you could look at a different space of everyone complaining, and I feel like everyone complaining or sharing their opinion of a situation. Just compare the two. One is much brighter and lighter and uplifting, and one is like, yeah, let's go there and complain about that. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be the sunshine. Like people complain about the sun, right? Like the sun is bright and beautiful. It lights up. It heats you. It improves your health, your eyesight. Like there's so many benefits to the sun. And then in the wintertime, of course, we get less sun, and then people complain that there's not enough sun. But it could be anything, and and people are like, I can't believe it was so sunny today. But what I'm saying here is to find the motivation that you're looking for. You have different spaces, and one space is very low. And if you're here and you don't have that, you have to go and seek it. You have to find the people that are uplifting. And that's like, of course, I keep going to our fitness family because that stands out to me the most. But that's why we try to get people in. Like, if someone doesn't come to workout, I'm like, hey, where you been? You want to come to a workout? Because I want them to appreciate a positive environment. If I don't see them in the group too often, then I say, hey, have you, how are things going? Are things going okay? Because I want people to be in the group and participate in the group because it's positive and uplifting. And I feel like a lot of places people go and they're like, that people get quiet and they like kind of curl up in a ball and like in the fetal position, and that's where like more of that anxiety, depression, negativity, that's where it lives. So you have to pull yourself, Superman or Superwoman, pull yourself out of that negative mindset and place yourself into. Dana, I think I wonder if I saw it on your page, Dana. It said something about, was it a quote that I read on maybe on one of your stories, that you you have to go and find that positive mindset. You're just not, that you decide what your day is. Like, you decide how things are going to affect you positively or negatively. Like, that's your day. You can decide, like, you choose your thoughts, you choose your actions, and you can decide how things are going to affect you. So you can say, this is my decision today. I'm going to put myself in and around people that are a bit more happy, friendly, positive, or I'm going to go and hang out in a negative space. Like, there's two different availabilities there, and you get to choose. Let me get to some comments on here. Just give me a second. There's a slight lag. Dorothy says, exactly. I don't watch the news. When do you ever hear anything positive on it? I already said that. Then Stephanie said, Vanda says, I'm happy when I open my avocado and it's perfect. I get pretty excited about that too, to be honest with you. Stephanie says, I often find that when it's time to get out of bed and start my morning routine, I begin to argue with myself. I deserve a sleep in. I'm achy. It was a rough school day, and instead of working out, I want to curl up in a ball. The amount of mental energy expended is way more than what a workout would be. I tell myself, just get started. I love that, and it just takes one step. And for me, like, I think it's important for me to make my bed the first thing I do in the morning. So when I get out of bed, I make the bed right away. Because if you like, we've all been there, Stephanie. Thank you for sharing that. But so if you kind of like, I've done this before, like walk around the house, maybe Saturday. Saturday it's a bit easier for me to crawl back into bed. But if the bed is open and I get up and like have some like turn the kettle on or start boiling the water right away, and I start getting my tea ready, and I look over at the bed and it's open and it's all like squishy and it looks welcoming, then I'm like, maybe I'll jump back into bed. But what I do is I make the bed, and I'm like, and it's almost like closed for business. So the first thing I do when I wake up is I make the bed, and I'm like, that's over with. It's time to get on with the day. So I think that's interesting, Stephanie. Though, but I think it's important to note that everyone goes through that. Everyone has those mental battles, mental challenges. I don't know if they ever go away, and I feel like people often say to about Dorothy and I, they're like, "Oh, it's easy for you guys to work out. That's what it's your job or your business or whatever." I'm like, no, it's not. We have to make a conscious decision to work out until it becomes a habit, until you don't think about it and you wake up and just do it. But if you're traveling or if you're in a different environment or if you're in a different place, you have to start that routine all over again. So it's not just, I just get up and do it. It's a continually mentally like, this is something I want to do. I do want to talk about goals. Don't worry, I'm not going to get too obsessed because no one wants to talk about goals. But I do want to look at what can help us increase that motivation here. So I'm going to give you some tips along with that too. But understand that everyone is in the same place. If you're one of those people that are like, oh, it's easy for everyone else but me, or if you have that mindset of like, oh, I'm just a person that's not as motivated as other people, so that's why I don't do it, that can change if you want it to. If you don't want it to, then I guess you probably wouldn't be sitting in here. Nikki says, good morning. Happy Friday. Dorothy says, not allowed in the staff room anymore, thanks to the, so no more staff meeting. It still has, so Stephanie says that negativity still happens in virtual meetings, which is kind of funny. Like, it's so interesting how, like, we could find negativity anywhere, but I also think we could find positivity everywhere. So I guess, and I know I keep going back to the same deal, like if it's negative or positive, but remember what we're focusing on here is motivation. So if you want to find that motivation, you find uplifting people and you change your focus. So instead of focusing in that negative space, you focus in that positive space. Morning, Denise. Tammy says, good morning. Find the good in every day, without question. Morning, Louise. And it's not always easy, but that's why you have to find it. It's not like Tammy says, find the good in every day. You have to find it. Sometimes you search for it and you look for the good things that are positive instead of looking for the negative things, because they're going to pop up. So otherwise the phrase would be accept the good in every day. I suppose you could do that too. Stephanie says a bunch of teachers are reading the Absolute Truth Diary of a part-time Indian as part of a book club. What is that, Stephanie? Tell us what that's about. Thank you for the comments, guys. Nice to be in here hanging out with you. So, you know what's interesting is that when I put up like a controversial post, before I put it up, I know the people that are going to comment on it. And if I put a positive post up, those same people never comment on it. So you have those individuals that will only comment on a controversial, and I say controversial because it could be taken as negative or positive. And the people that enjoy the controversial, it's negative. So they'll only comment negatively. But if I put a post up, positive one up, you don't see those people ever. And I can think of a handful right now, always on my social. Doesn't matter if it's on Instagram or Facebook. So understand, like, those type of people you want to distance from, you want to create space from, you want to find people that are more. I really like having conversations of like mindset and reading and self-improvement. Like I feel like we're naturally attracted to certain people. So if you're naturally attracted to people that are always complaining, you have to break out of that and force yourself to find more positive types of people. Stephanie and I often have conversations about, could be about books, or it could be of interesting YouTube clips or audio clips of people that are doing new and interesting things, or just like positivity. Like that stuff really interests me. So I think it's important to have those conversations, and it's important to find those relationships and people in your life that can improve the things that you're interested in, or can offer you different aspects. It's so important. Nikki says, yes, definitely has been a roller coaster of emotions over the last year. Too easy to turtle. I always get drawn back to positivity by the True Form family. Awesome, Nikki. Thank you so much. Nikki's also in our True Form family, and is such an incredible like supporter. You know, like we have those people in your life that you could go to, and you can always like they're always there for you. Like Nikki, I could ask her a question, or like, how we doing with this, or how things going with that, like, and how are you doing, like, how are things going with workouts, or how are things going at home. Like, I feel like we lean on each other. Like, you lean on those people in your life, and sometimes if I'm not having a great day, I'll just message someone that I know is like always positive, or someone that's always has something to contribute. I'll go to those people and like, hey, how you doing, or ask a question, how things going, and I know I'm not going to get like a thumbs up in return. Or I know I'm not going to get the conversation isn't going to get turned to something that everyone else is talking about on the news, for example. So those type of people that come into your life, they can lift you up and they can support you, especially when you need it. In a proper relationship, you should do the same for them. I think it's really difficult to have those relationships where it's just one side, they're always taking from you. and taking and asking and never offering anything in return. I think those are relationships are really hard to make last, and for good reason. Stephanie says my book is Declutter Your Mind. You know what? You know what I thought was really cool. I know Stephanie Cardinal was one of them. Maybe Dana was one of them. Imbri. Some like people are decluttering. It seems like people are getting rid of stuff, and you're sitting at home wondering like what to do. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are super busy at home, but there's a lot of things that are being decluttered. We're getting rid of things, and we're selling things or giving stuff away. And I think it's uplifting. And I watched a couple episodes of Hoarders, to be honest with you. So I watched a couple episodes of Hoarders, and then I was like, my gosh, like hoarders, it's psychological disorders, which stems from hoarding. I just realized I didn't even have my microphone plugged in today. How's my volume out there? Um, but so it was really difficult. I only watched a couple episodes, and I was like, this is not uplifting. Like it's not something that's like offering me positivity in my life. Like I felt really bad for the people, and I couldn't believe like people were living like that, and it was like really hard for their families, and it wasn't like it was draining. So I was like, I don't want to watch that anymore. But what I took away from that is that I don't. I want to be the opposite of hoarders. Like we want to be minimalists. I think we are in a lot of cases, but so every time I leave the place here, I try to take something with me, even if it's one thing or a small thing. Maybe it's something, maybe it's some trash, maybe it's some recycling. But I've been trying to get rid of items as well that I never use. And I just painted a couple of drawers here, and I cleaned out the drawers. And I was like, and I looked in the drawers, and I was like, never used this, haven't seen that in years. Um, don't have any plans of using that, and I got rid of them, and it's uplifting. So I think it's super important not just to declutter your surroundings, but your mind as well. What Stephanie's saying. Hang tight. I'm getting to the rest of your comments here. Dorothy says I have a conversation with myself every morning to step on the treadmill. You mean an argument? So Dorothy has, and I want to share this with you. I want to share Dorothy's goal here because it's extraordinary or profound, if you will. And she talks about, she says I have an argument with herself every morning about stepping on the treadmill because her goal is to step on the treadmill every single day for the entire year. So 365 days a year. So here's the difference when it comes to setting proper goals. And don't leave me when I start talking about goals because it's going to help with motivation, which is what we're talking about today. So the problem is when it comes to setting goals, which would improve motivation, is people aren't really sure how to set goals to improve motivation. So in most cases, and I was a personal trainer when I started out for years, maybe 7 good years of my life. I did that full time. And people would always come to me and I'd sit down for a consultation. They say, well, what do you want out of this? In most cases, people wouldn't know. They'd be like, I don't know, maybe to lose some weight. And I'm like, I mean, it's a scary place to be in because it's not something that is going to motivate you long term. It might motivate you short term, but I'll explain here in a second why it's not going to motivate you short term. So when someone steps on a scale, there's many different factors of why the scale is the least accurate measure of success. So you could have stepped on a scale in the morning one day and the next day and it's in the evening and you weigh less in the morning than in the evening. So there's one thing that like it depends on what day or what time of day you're stepping on the scale. It depends what you ate that day or the day before. It depends on your hydration level that day or the day before. It depends on what time of the month it is. For some people, like sometimes we're bloated and gassy, and like there's many different factors. And in most cases, in that instant right there, we are not in control of that number because of external circumstances. Don't get me wrong, like if you're doing the things that you should be doing, if you're eating properly, if you're exercising, in most cases you'll see results. But then you also have to look at in many cases, we've seen when I used to do measuring, I wouldn't do scale stuff after, but I would do measuring. I would literally see the inches getting smaller on most of the ladies. I worked with mostly women, on most of the women that I was working with, but none of that mattered. So they would step on the scale and their pants would literally be looser. There'd be inches in their pants, and they would have less. Their inches would be going down, but then they step on the scale and they're like, oh, like I'd actually see them like brighten up. Oh my gosh, I'm losing inches. They would tell me, oh, my pants don't fit anymore. And then we would put them on the scale, and all of that was like squash. It was like, and they would be like a turtle, Nikki. So what I'm getting at here is that's why I stopped weighing as I progressed. Probably weighed for a couple of years, and I was like, this is not benefiting anyone. So then I stopped weighing people. So the problem with that weight loss scale is that we're focused on, in many cases, something that we're not in control of, at least at that time. And then afterwards, let's say it doesn't matter. Like I've seen people lose anywhere from 2 to 7 pounds in a week or two. And it doesn't matter how many pounds you would lose, the next time they would want to see that number and more. So if I had someone lose 5 pounds in a week, which was rare, in most cases, a healthy way is maybe a pound a week, but that isn't something I want to get into anyways. But if I would see someone lose 5 pounds, the next week they could have lost 2 pounds and they'd be disappointed because they're expecting more than 5. Because last week, oh, I should have got better. It's another week. I should lose even more weight. So the problem here is what I'm trying to explain is that when we set goals or we focus on one thing. So early in the conversation, I talked about that there's negative type of groups. That's what you're focusing on. So in that case, we could relate that people are focusing on the scale to the negativity, or you could focus on the positivity. So when I talk about positivity, so here in this case, we could see when we work with people in our fitness family, we see them gaining confidence and they're happier and they're more excited and their mood changes. They are actually saving money in the grocery store, and they're also dropping inches. They're preparing food. They're feeling better about themselves. That's what you focus on. You focus on the things that you can control. You focus on how many workouts you can get done in a week. You focus on how many proper meals, and then you stay away from those negative things like, oh, I'm going to jump on the scale, or I'm going to hit that. How many times did you hit the fast food restaurant? Let's stay away from that fast food restaurant and focus on preparing our own meals. So that's the difference in the core of what I want to discuss today is that it's so Jen asked, well, how can we be motivated? Like, how can we find motivation? Well, that's where the motivation comes from, is what you're focusing on. So Dorothy, for example, she's stepping on the scale she's stepping on the treadmill every single day this year. Every day she's going to step on the scale. And it doesn't matter. She doesn't have any number, any duration, any time, any speed for the year, for that 365 days a year. So that's what she's in control of. She's in control of her own motivation for herself getting on that treadmill, for waking up and making it happen. Regardless of what happens, she's in control of that. She either decides to get on or she decides to get off. So now you break that down. So in 6 months, you set a different type of goal that's a bit smaller and a bit more achievable. And then from there, Dorothy breaks that down into I think last month was 3K every day, Dorothy, and then this month is a different goal. So what she's doing here is she has one big giant goal that's probably a bit scary. Like, oh, what happens if I travel? What happens if the treadmill goes down? What happens if it's minus 50 outside, literally? So though that's a bit scary, like some things happen in life, but you have to make it. You may have to make it happen. It has to be a bit scary. But then you break that down and you give yourself something to look forward to each day, each week, each month. So you're always working toward that big 365-day goal. Let me know if you have questions with that, and I'll read some comments here. Greta said, days filling I've spent days filling out our 6 grandparent books. 3 for each of us. I'm not sure what that is. That's pretty exciting. Lots of wonderful memories. Our 6 grandparent books. I don't know what that is, Greta. Tell us what that is. Thank you for sharing. Dorothy says it's super scary, but I believe if your goal doesn't scare you, then it's not big enough, and it's not an appropriate goal. If it doesn't scare you, it doesn't challenge you, and you need a challenge. Morning, Cindy. Nikki says I keep thinking about how it was easier for the younger me. I used to work out in the morning all the time. I'm doing my best I can each day, and tomorrow is another day to get at it. And that's the mindset you need. 100%, Nikki. Like, we could we could go back to anything, like, oh, that was a different time, or that was, I had more time, or I had more energy, I could put in more effort. We could justify just about anything, but we have to have that mindset of what it is that we're going to do to make it happen every single day. What do we have going on here, Jen? Dorothy says her March goal will be something different. Did you tell us what your goal this month is, Dorothy? Jen says I'm about halfway of the minimum 3 month of starting to change my lifestyle. How do you stay motivated and not have, where's the instant result? Thoughts. I'm about halfway of the minimum 3 months of starting to change my lifestyle. I think it's kind of what I've been talking about, Jen, if I understand your question correctly. It's that it's so you need to have that long term, like we're talking about. You have to find something that you're able to work towards long term, like Dorothy's talking about, setting something bigger and longer term and a bit scary, and you're not sure if you can achieve it. Something that's going to wake you up and inspire you. I would say 95% of people don't have that. And then from there, it's staying closely connected to the group, to the fitness family, and finding those motivated people that can keep you going. And from there, it's your focus. Like, what are you focusing on? And you're breaking those down. So each day, or sorry, each week, you should have a goal of what it is. Like how many workouts you're going to get in, for example, and then a goal of um, how many meals you're going to have. Or I know you do the bouldering, so how often are you bouldering? And then do you have things that you're looking for when you're bouldering? Like, is there a certain wall that you want to work towards and climb? Like, I think for us as humans, we always want to see progress. Like, I see that all the time. If someone doesn't see progress, then they become uninterested. They're like, oh, I'm not getting any better. I'm not changing my body. I'm not feeling any different. So if you don't see that continual progress, then we lose that motivation. But the problem is we don't know what that progress is. So deciding what that is and what you're working towards is super important. And again, most people don't do that. So what does progress to you? Most people is that scale. And there's only so much weight we can lose. And like I said, once you continue to jump on that scale and you don't see the numbers you want to see, then people fall off and they quit and they say this isn't working. And then we justify, well, the scale isn't going down, so I'm going to go crawl back into bed in the morning. But if you continue to stay around those positive people that are going to keep uplifting you and keep pushing you in the direction you want to go, then you can keep finding that motivation. You can keep finding those individuals to bring you closer to your goals. I always say people in life are all either taking you further away or bringing you closer to the direction you want to go. So you have to surround yourself with those type of people. But for me, like Jen specifically, if you want to tell us what that progress is or where you want to see progress or results, I can help with that specifically. But I hear that question all the time: is that what am I looking for? Like, what am I going to see? And I'm like, well, what do you want to see? Stephanie says The Life Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo is an excellent book. She's also on Netflix. Surround yourself with the things that spark your joy. Ooh, I love that. Spark your joy. Is that her? Is that you? Is that your word, Stephanie? I love that. Surround yourself with things that spark your joy. In this book of joy, they talk about um, how joy and happiness is different, two different things. Joy is internal, like you have internal happiness. Like if you look at these two guys, like that's usually what their faces look like. They're usually like kind of smiley and like laughing, even though so China exiled Dalai Lama, so the Dalai Lama can never go home. So they found a place in India where he's allowed to be, and the Archbishop. I only read this one time, so you'll have to bear with me. The Archbishop wanted to have a birthday celebration in South Africa, but China used the Chinese want to kill the Dalai Lama for whatever reason because of the religion, probably, I believe. So the China used their influence. So the Dalai Lama was invited to the Archbishop's um, Desmond Tutu to his birthday. I don't know, I think it was his 80th birthday or something. So China used their influence on South Africa because they're big exporters. China buys a lot of their raw materials, and I don't know exactly what it is. So the China used their influence to tell South Africa not to allow the Dalai Lama into the country, which is exactly what happened. So Archbishop Desmond Tutu made some noise, and the newspapers came, and he was talking about how this isn't right, blah blah. But the whole time that comes up, he wasn't like angry or spiteful. It was like that internal joy. Like if you ever see them, they're always like smiling or like joking, or it's internal joy, much different than happiness. I think we all have happiness at times, and it's usually very short, but it's that internal joy is what we're looking for. And in this book, they're talking about how you find that, or how it comes from within. That happiness is more external, and that joy is like you're just a joyous person, which everyone's looking for. As humans, we go towards things that make us happy, and we try to avoid things that cause us pain. So you're looking for internal joy, but in most cases, long term, it's really hard to find. Greta says, the first book I wrote is entitled Enjoy the Freedom You Deserve. It's based on dejunking you life, therefore less equals more. The first book I wrote. You wrote a book, Greta? I didn't know you wrote a book. Let me, can you send me a link, or can you post the link in the bottom? Or that's awesome. Dorothy says, I can't believe you scared my big scary goal. You got to put it out there, Dorothy. I think it's important. I know you know. I know you know. I think it's important. You have to scare it. You have to share that with other people so they can help keep you accountable. Dorothy says, I can't believe you shared my big scary goal. January goal was to just get on the dart thing every day. In February, her goal is to run a minimum of 3K a day because a short run is better than no run at all. And 3K is significant. Like it's still a good time. But we know people that have run like half marathons, 10Ks all the time, 5Ks daily. And so Dorothy doesn't think that 3K is such a big commitment, but it is. Dorothy has a different goal that's coming up in March. Have a great day, Nikki. And then Cindy says, I love the hat. We got all kinds of comments on the hat. Thanks, Dean. Appreciate the boost of support with the hat. You know what's funny is that I saw there's no, in most, like there's a repeatable path to success, and I follow them. I try to put my own spin on things, but I try to follow them all the time. And I was like, I always wear like the LA hat, which is fine. Like I like the Dodgers and I like the hat, and I love LA. So, but I saw um, there's a guy that runs a big supplement company, and I follow him on Instagram, and he's inspiring to me. And he always has his own hat on, so I was like, and I saw Gary Vee. Some of you entrepreneurs might know Gary Vee, and he just started wearing his own logo on his hat. And of course, there was Tiger Woods, and way back when. And I was like, why am I always like I'm on video often? I'm like, why am I always supporting like another business like the Dodgers or a business? You could even consider tourism in LA business. So I was like, why? And I was like, why don't I support my own team, our own community, and get a true format. And I've looked around in the past; it's just really hard to find people that would do a hat for a reasonable price and just one. And I found a place here in LA, and they did it in like 3 days, and I was like, I love you. So that's where the hat came from. Dorothy says it's super scary, but I believe, yeah, I think I already read that. Thank you for sharing that. Greta says, I'll bring you a book next time I pick up. I'd be happy to buy a book from you, Greta. Hi, Suzanne. It's so important to support authors. I am so more than happy to support authors. Books are books are so important. Like if you were ever to sit down and write a book, I think everyone should write a book, to be honest with you. Because if you were to sit down and write a book, you would realize all the time and effort it takes to write a book. Took me a year to write Detoxify Yourself. Um, and that was my second book at the time, and I've written an entrepreneur book from there, and that one's like $20, and it took hours and hours. And when people are like, "Oh, $20," and I'm like, it took me a year of my life. And then like as a published author, you don't make a ton of money on books. If you make the New York Times bestseller list, that's a different story. But I interview authors all the time, and I have these conversations, and they're not making a whole lot of money off their book. So I think it's important to support authors, people that will take the time to sit down and put in the effort. And I try to, like, people that I know that have written books, I try to buy a book from, because it means a lot. Like every single purchase means a lot. I've actually sat down. I was newly inspired. We did our sugar detox. That was amazing. It was our best group yet. And we had all kinds of really cool questions come in about Detoxify Yourself, and people were using it and seeing incredible results. So I got inspired, and every day, like every morning when I start my day, I edit a couple pages because I want to kind of revise it and I want to add a few things. It was quite a while. It was years ago that I wrote it, and I never really revised it. So I know some things need to be edited and fixed that I want to change, new research, and then I want to add a few things to it as well. So in the future, I'd like to release a new revised version. But it's really difficult, to be honest with you, to sit down there and go through the edits. And I already read it a bunch of times. I already edited it. I've already written it. So for me to sit there and edit, it's challenging. And then to find someone that would sit there and edit that wouldn't cost $1 million is challenging. So I'm committed to making myself do that. Greta says grandparent books are memory books we make for our grandchildren so they can read what our lives were like. Pictures included 3 grandkids. Oh, 6 books. That's awesome, Greta. Jen says, I'll send you my goals today. Awesome. If anyone wants to send me your goals, I'd be happy to look at them. Like, we can talk about them. I could tell you what I think about them, just my opinion, of course, and I can help you break them down. In most cases, I'm probably going to say your goal isn't big enough, so take that into account. People come to me all the time, and I'm like, well, I'm going to tell you the truth. So before you come to me and ask questions, know that I'm going to tell you what you want to know. I had this coaching. I had this coaching couple. This was, I don't do it anymore, but I do on, like, I used to do online, or like coaching online, like health coaching, one-on-one. I had this couples coach, and they just didn't feel like, maybe I shouldn't say anything. I'm not gonna say anything, but the gist of that is that I told them the truth, like, this is not acceptable, and then I think they didn't like to hear the truth, so then they're like, maybe this isn't for us. But you have to understand, like, people in life are going to tell you the truth, and if you don't like to hear it, then you're going to go somewhere else. So, all right. Sounds good. Thank you for joining me, Dorothy. She's got her kids coming in, and I'm gonna wrap things. Excuse me. I'm gonna wrap things up here myself. But if you're looking for that, I mean, just understand, like, there's things, like, for me, I always want to learn. I have these new things coming in. Like, for me, I need to learn. So I'll give you an example of myself for those of you. not going to rush out of here. I know some of you can hang out. If you need to leave, you're more than welcome to go, but give me about 10 minutes and then I'll let you go, and then I'm going to be out of here. But um, for example, like I like to learn things. I like to experiment. I like to try different things. So right now I'm growing celery because food interests me and growing things interest me. So I have two growing celeries in water, and I just yesterday I planted a romaine lettuce head in water, and I'm gonna grow. So it's funny, like, oh, like how is that motivating? It's motivating because it helps me focus on nutrition, and it gives me a new mindset of like, oh, we can actually grow things in the house, which I think is super cool. But that's just one aspect, and I think if we're just focusing, that's why I talk about the scale all the time, because so many people are like tunnel vision focus on the scale. Like, I'm not seeing results. Like in our fitness family, for example, people are feeling better and they're feeling great and they're in a supportive community for the first time ever, and they're telling me these things. And that's why we're like, you need to focus on these positive things in your life, that there's that so many things are being offered, but we have such a tunnel vision. Um, so like plants and food represent life. They represent energy. Do you know that greens can improve your eyesight? So we're always looking at blue screens. So you can look outside, you can look at plants, you can look at trees, and now I can look at plants that are sitting right in my house that offer energy of life. And I think many times we have plastic plants, or we have no plants, or we have um, pretend things in our life when we need to have more positive living things that have life um, and offer something in return. For me, I also like, I've always wanted, I'll say this publicly to you guys to offer some accountability, but I really want to learn how to walk on my handstand and on my hands. I can do a handstand, I can hold it for a little bit, but for me, in many cases, I'll accomplish something and then I'll kind of lose interest. So I accomplished the handstand and then I kind of lost interest, but I want to walk on my hands. So I just joined a free thing on YouTube. I joined a 30-day handstand challenge. So every day for about 20 minutes, I work on handstand stuff. So that interests me, that excites me. So that's my goal. If you want to look at that, those of you that are interested in or can or trying to figure out motivation, like that's just for me though. It doesn't have to be handstands, but you have to find something that interests you. And so for me, I have a longer term goal of 30 days to walk on my hands, let's say. And then each day there's a different lesson. So each day I'm working towards that big goal of walking on my hands. And in most cases, some people try things like, if you could take, I can go back to personal training, which is pretty easy. I'll have people show up in the first week. I usually did like a Tuesday, Thursday, twice a week, and they didn't have anything really they were working towards, and we couldn't really narrow down anything but I want to lose weight. So after a couple weeks, which was like 3 or 4 sessions, they would start to lose interest because they didn't have anything that they were actually physically working towards other than the scale, which is the least accurate measure of success. So you have to find things that motivate you, and you have to find things that you're attracted to. And it's no one can do it but you. Like I couldn't be like, oh, you should go and do this. You have to find something internally that interests you, that excites you, that you're naturally attracted to. Thank you for all the hearts. Sue says you don't want to lose weight, you release it. When you lose things, you have to find it again. Oh, that's very nice. When we release it, it's gone. I love that. So it's just a completely different mindset of losing weight. And maybe that's why so many people gain that weight back once they lose it, because they're like, oh my gosh, I lost it. That mindset and that internal energy of it's gone. I lost it. I have to find it again. So if you release it, it's much different. But that was one of the things when I was working with people one on one, and they would start to drop inches and lose weight, I would say get rid of those pants, because and the people wouldn't do that because they were scared. They were scared to get rid of their pants because they're like, what if I gain my weight back and I don't fit into the smaller pants anymore? Well, then of course you can buy newer pants. Well, we don't want you to buy newer pants. We want you to get rid of those pants so you don't have a reason to go back into them. Like, oh, I don't want to get up in the morning. Your motivation could be like, I don't have any pants that are bigger that I can fit in. So if you start to drop inches and your pants don't fit you anymore, you have to get rid of the pants. You have to. Otherwise, you're going to find reasons to get back into them. Like Sue's saying, because you lost it, you need to find it again. I love that. Suzanne says, very nice, very kind of you. Thank you, Suzanne. She says, I would like to thank you for writing your book. I learned a lot from it. That means a lot to me. Thank you for sharing that, Suzanne. What do we have here for comments? Let's read some comments here and we'll let you guys get on with your day. What does Cindy have to say? Cindy's also in our fitness family group. So nice to see all the support from our fitness family members and those that. Cindy says, my January, February goal is to walk to Tuck, and I've gone 73 kilometers so far. As a team of 15, we've made it from Providence to Tuck and back already. Fourth team to complete the loop. But I'm still walking and recording my distances. Yes, still walking is super in the suit. Awesome, Cindy. That's fantastic. I really I love that idea. I'd like to do that with our fitness family. And I'm going to bring that up. We have got an awesome group, and I think we'd have quite a few people interested in it. But I would love to do that. I haven't been a part of anything like that, but I'm guessing that's your like a bunch of your teachers are doing that, Cindy. And then you set a goal, and then everyone records their goal, and you see how far you can walk in. There must be a time frame, I'm guessing. As I don't know, it didn't say a time frame, but maybe in a week you see how far you can walk, or in a month you see how far. So everyone tracks their steps. I want to do that. I'm going to bring that up today. Thank you for the inspiration. See, that's what I'm talking about. Is that's the type of people you want to be surrounded by, people that are doing things and motivating you, and then you can be a part of it as well. So I think it's so important to try to separate yourself from those short-term goals of um, like Jen, if you don't mind me saying again, Jen said, well, it's been almost 3 months, or how do you look for those results in 3 months? But if you're continually surrounded by these type of people, you don't have to worry about if it's been a month or two, where are my results? Because there's always something new that we're going to be working on, and something new that positivity can take you toward. So that's that's uplifting in its own rights. If you guys are interested in the fitness family group, you can shoot me a message. It's certainly, you're certainly welcome. It is a paid group. We do meal planning. We do Dorothy does a live every Monday night. She teaches you how to cook a meal, raw chocolate, stir fry. I do live workouts Tuesday and Thursday. Then we have theme week. So we just finished the at home kombucha theme week. Um, we're trying to do dinners. Everyone post pictures of your dinners. Some themes are more inspired than others, I would say, but overall it's amazing. It's so much fun to be a part of. And Tuesday, Thursday morning are Tuesday, Thursday morning, my favorite mornings to wake up to, because I get to wake up with a bunch of people that are all excited and ready to go, and then we just have conversations throughout the week or throughout the day about healthy living. Cindy says it's only till the end of February. Yeah, that's awesome. So that's where your short term goal is. That so maybe, for example, you set a goal to you it's like a huge goal, and you set a goal to walk to New York. I don't even know how long that would take or how many steps. That could be short. But if you then you want to break that down and say how far do we have to walk in 6 months? How far do we have to walk each month to get there? So that's how you properly break those down. Have a great day, Greta. Cindy says Scott's kicking my butt as he walked. 143 clicks already. Walking machine. That's awesome. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me this morning, Friday Morning Live. Thank you for the comments and the questions. And we appreciate your support in our other groups as well. So we have a couple other groups, both Dorothy and I do. And on this page also, it's nice when people come in and like or comment on one of our posts. It's a bit more challenging to run pages on Facebook now, so you don't always see our posts because of the algorithms, but we appreciate when you come in and specifically come to the page and like or comment. That's very much appreciated. You're welcome, Jen. And yeah, I'm back here Friday Morning Live, same time, same place. We'll have a new topic if you have any topic suggestions. let me know and we can talk about that. And hopefully this gave you some ideas on motivation. And in the future, hopefully those conversations will give you some inspiration for a new topic. Have a wonderful day, everyone. You're welcome to the thank yous. Thank you for joining me. And we will catch you later.